Brian and Amber. Brian, you are about to be completing the mental load mastery program. Um, and Amber, you are his partner. First off, because I know a lot of women follow me and are interested in the program. What has been your experience with Brian going through the program?
I think I would just say that, Brian's always wanted to have family meetings and things. So I think this program really just helped him understand more of what to talk about, more of what it takes to run a family, and just more accountability on making sure we're having those meetings and talking about things.
To either of you, what do you think has been one of the powerful things about having these like consistent meetings? I know a lot of people generally have know that it's a good idea to have them, but you guys have actually been executing on it. And what would you say has been a, like that's a huge part of what I hold people accountable to? What have been some of the positive benefits you guys have had from being held accountable to it?
I think for me, it was just having that accountability um, helped me form the habit of, being purposeful in creating an agenda, what we need to talk about, looking forward to, our schedule ahead in the, coming day and week. Uh, what just absolutely needed to happen, or what needed to happen, not absolutely, what needed to happen to make our household run more effectively instead of just the sporadic um, habits that have been formed from the past.
Yeah, I feel like Brian looked forward and he had like this is happening. I know this is coming up. I know that's coming up. And he brought that all to the table and I didn't have to do that as much. And so it was just I felt like he thought more ahead on things and he was more organized. So it kind of took a little bit of the burden off of me.
And coming back to that, I know that it's called mental load mastery, and I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, he has programming, and hopefully my husband can better understand the mental load." I'm sure that those might have been some of the early thoughts you had when
Mhm.
I'm I'm guessing you sent over probably one or two videos from me over to him. In terms of like your experience of the mental load, I don't expect that it's perfect and that he takes everything off your plate. Not that it was necessarily on belonged on your plate in the first place. But what's been your experience of him understanding and owning mental load at home?
I feel like Brian learns really well, and many of us do. We all often learn better in a group of people because we hear their ideas. We get to say what our ideas are, and other people can say, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Oh, that needs tweak there." And it's not like our spouse talking about it because I feel like I'm supposed to have a different role in our relationship. I'm supposed to be supportive, and when I point out things, it just doesn't go over as well as when it's said by someone outside of the family. And so I just feel like it clarified things. It provided a safe space for him to talk about this. Hey, I do this, but then my wife does that. I don't know if that actually happened, but I just imagine that it would have been a safe place to discuss difficulties that without having to, talk to me about it and then we're both triggered or whatever. So I think it just provided that expanded ability to talk through, think through, and have accountability to follow through with what it looks like to have those responsibilities placed on his shoulders.
And have you felt like the mental load that you had before he started the program has changed since then?
Yeah, and I feel like he understands it more and accepts it more, um, and then takes on some of that. Yes.
And Brian, I think the thing I don't necessarily advertise, because I think that a lot of guys don't necessarily think that this is what they need or are looking for. So I think a lot of guys actually struggle with confidence at home, feeling like they can do chores to the fullest extent and having conversations with their partner about the minimum standard of care of things. what has been the shift in your confidence since the beginning of the program?
Uh, so it's given me some tools to have conversation about, just minimum standards of care instead of not having the confidence or feeling like I'm going to mess it up. Um, Knowing that there's a mental load on Amber, that uh, is unseen, and um, it's given me the confidence to tap into that unseen world, and um, there's still a long ways for us to go. Just having 3 months into the program, but it's given us momentum to build just the standards to um, meet each other's needs and meet the needs of the household, and have confidence that if things are frustrating, that it's not a bad thing. It just needs some investigating, um, and we'll build positive momentum to get the thing done.
Yeah. The other question I ask, because I think a lot of people that come to look at this program are not having great conversations. They're ending up in fights, they're having a lot of arguments. And I think that more so than having those arguments disappear, I think that the program is a lot better at helping people deal with those tough conversations. Um, and I think I know I personally, historically, I really avoid having tough conversations if I can. And I think part of growing up as a partner and learning about these things, I got better at leaning into the discomfort of it. What would you say is the difference between a tough conversation that you have today versus maybe like 6 months ago? How does it unfold a little bit differently?
Uh, yeah. So historically, tough conversations were not a great place for us, and not I didn't know how to navigate those well. And this program has given me some tools and some confidence to go into tough conversations, know some of the underlying emotions and factors that uh, have derailed, I guess, or just caused me to just react or triggered or not handle those tough conversations well. And I would say, yeah, through this program, it's given me some good tools to navigate tough conversations well, and um, just build closer connection, through conversation with my spouse.
Yeah. Amber, would you agree with that on like the change in how those conversations go?
Yeah, I would say historically, like when Brian's talking about being derailed, um, he would avoid finishing a conversation, or he would start having emotions and then feel like he needs to leave and not know when to come back to the conversation because he knows the emotions are going to come up again. But I feel like something that he's been talking about since he's been in this group is, it's okay to have a meeting and fail. You had the meeting at least. You got to start somewhere. And so I think that's where it's given the confidence to fail, honestly. I mean, and when you have confidence to fail, then you get better at something. So that's what I've seen.
Sorry, I had a little 2.5-year-old visitor. Um, well, that was really valuable. I think the last thing I think I'll ask is like, what have been one of the benefits that you've been happiest with, either one of you, from the participation in the program?
For me, I know that just tapping into my own emotional lingo language, um, hasn't been a thing, and so this has given me uh, some tools and positive experiences with digging deeper into emotions, and a tool to talk about them and have better understanding of both my own and Amber's ability to, navigate the emotional state within.
And I've seen that. I've seen you name your emotions better and say what they are, rather than just pointing out what my behaviors are, or maybe even blame shifting or getting defensive. I feel like pointing out or saying what you're acknowledging what your own emotions are and how you feel about a situation really helps provide more clarity into what needs to happen to move forward in any conversation that we get stuck in. And so I've appreciated that a lot. And I think just like I said before, the accountability to just try and start somewhere. And the more we know, the more we get better at things.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite phrases that I've definitely repeated to the guys along the way is I give you permission to fail. So sounds like that message was received and executed on.
Yep,
Well, thank you, Amber and Brian, for talking with me and prospective clients. I really appreciate your time and sharing your story.
absolutely. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.